What do you think about in terms of this co-evolution of the work around brain-computer interfaces and maybe Neuralink and Elon seeing Neuralink in particular as its long-term mission as a symbiosis with artificial intelligence? So, like giving a greater bandwidth channel of communication between technology, AI systems, and the biological neural networks of our human mind. What do you think about this idea of connecting directly to the brain in AI systems?
I mean, okay, I've listened to your podcasts with Elon. I've listened to Elon before. He's very intelligent, obviously, super smart guy. I think this is already, not in the specific ways that he is doing it, but I think we are already doing that. Okay. And I can give you some examples. And there are really trivial examples, but they do make the point. And this is one of them. So before he started this research on UFOs and UAPs and technology, I actually was looking at the effects of technology and in particular media on religion. And what I did was I was lucky to be asked to be a consultant for various movies. And one in particular I learned a lot from, and that was The Conjuring. So I was a history consultant for The Conjuring. It happens to be my field. It's Catholic studies, right? And you've got these people who are real people and they're, exorcising demons and things like that. Okay, so I thought, wow, this is a great example for me. I didn't do it for the money. It doesn't pay well, but I did it to learn, right?
Yeah.
So I worked closely with the screenwriters who I work with now all the time. I work with them all the time now. And what I found was this. I found that as the most interesting part of the creation of this movie was the editing process, because they would use it would go through editing, and they would use test audiences, and a lot of the test audiences would be like, there's like these things where they test their flicker rates and things like that, the eye flicker rates, and so when it goes really intense, they go to UC Irvine and they do this thing called cognitive consumption, which is basically cognitive consumerism, where they basically hook test audiences up to EKGs and they read their brains.
Yeah.
And they figure out which scenes create the most
arousal.
Yeah. And so they cut out all the other scenes. Okay. So what we're getting like this drug when we go to the movies or when we do video games or when we watch, we're literally physiologically responding to our technologies. So we're already there. We're already interfacing with them physiologically. So that's my example. Now, the kind of thing that he's doing, Musk is doing with Neuralink, I say go for it. That's awesome. I hope he does it. I'm fascinated. I want it to happen. Why do I want it to happen? Because I think that, well, first, it's inevitable that it's going to happen. I also want to point out that Jacques Vallée was trying to get this done back in the 60s and the 70s. He was writing papers about, in fact, the ARPANET, the proto-internet, was called Augmentation of the Human Intellect. So we've been doing this for a while, okay? So props to Elon Musk, but we've been thinking about this for a good time. We've even been visioning it. Okay, so there was a really interesting Jesuit priest. He was French, Teilhard de Chardin. I don't know if you know who he is. If not, he's fascinating. He was actually a soldier before he became a priest, and so he also saw what he called a biosphere. Now, this guy is talking in like the early 20th century, like the 1917, 19, that time period. And so basically, he said and wrote about this thing called the noosphere. And he basically said, there will be a point when we merge with our technology, and it's going to be somewhat like some kind of a biosphere. We have this atmosphere, and then we have this stratosphere, and it's going to be this biosphere, and we're all going to be hooked into it mentally. So we'll be able to communicate in a way in which we don't communicate now. So, that sounds so similar to the singularity.